Hello everyone, I'm Anna Baker. Where do I even begin? I'm 31, thriving in my marketing career, and thought I had my family drama under control. But everything changed when my little sister, Chloe, started planning her wedding. I was supposed to be helping her plan the perfect day, but it quickly became clear that things were going to get far more complicated than I had imagined. The shadow of our dad, Andrew, hung over everything. Since his divorce, he hasn't been the same, slipping deeper into drinking and making bad decisions. The worst, in my opinion, was his new girlfriend, Vanessa. From the moment I met her, something felt off. One afternoon, Chloe and I were picking out flowers when she turned to me, worry etched on her face. "Anna, do you think Dad will actually show up sober?" she asked, her eyes pleading with hope. I forced a reassuring smile. "I hope so for your sake." But deep down, I had my doubts. As the wedding day drew nearer, I felt less like a maid of honor and more like a referee, constantly trying to keep the peace. My boyfriend Mark was my rock, always reminding me, "Babe, you can't control everything." I'd nod, but in my heart, I couldn't shake the worry. If Dad ruined this day for Chloe, I wasn't sure I could ever forgive him. Things took an unexpected turn about a week before the wedding. Over coffee, my best friend Laura looked at me knowingly. "What's really going on with you and Vanessa?" she asked. Lowering my voice, I glanced around as if someone might overhear. "There's something off about her, Laura." She latched onto Dad so quickly, always whispering things to him. And I overheard her on the phone, talking about some big score coming up. Laura's eyes widened. "You think she's scamming him?" I didn't know, but the idea burrowed into my mind and wouldn't let go. I spent late nights scrolling through social media, quietly reaching out to some of Dad's old friends, trying to connect the dots. The more I looked, the more I felt I was uncovering a puzzle that part of me didn't want to solve. The day before the wedding, Chloe and I were at the venue for some last-minute checks when Dad and Vanessa showed up unannounced. "Daddy," Chloe squealed, running over to hug him. I held back, watching Vanessa's eyes dart around the room like she was sizing it up. Dad, on the other hand, slurred, "My little girl, all grown up." My heart sank. He was already drunk. "And, darling, let's check out the bar," Vanessa purred, casting a smug glance my way as they walked off. Anger surged in me, but I kept it together for Chloe's sake. Chloe turned to me, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Before she could speak, I pulled her into a hug and whispered, "Tomorrow is about you and Matt. Nothing's going to ruin it." Little did I know how wrong I was. They say there's always calm before the storm. Well, ours was brewing, and it was about to hit like a Category 7 hurricane. The ceremony was beautiful. Chloe looked radiant, and for a brief, fragile moment, all the family drama faded away. Watching her exchange vows with Matt, I let myself hope that maybe, just maybe, we could get through the day without any disasters. But that hope was shattered the moment we walked into the reception. I saw him right away, Dad, already drunk, with Vanessa clinging to him like her life depended on it. My heart sank. "You okay?" Mark whispered, sensing my unease. "I have to hold it together for Chloe," I muttered, forcing a smile. But deep down, I knew it was only a matter of time before something went terribly wrong. As the night wore on, the tension in the room grew unbearable. Dad's laughter became louder, his movements sloppier. Vanessa's eyes scanned the room, a strange gleam in them that made my skin crawl. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. "Anna, Dad's making a scene," Chloe whispered, her voice tinged with worry. "I'll handle it," I said, trying to sound confident. I walked over to where Dad was attempting a very unsteady Macarena, stumbling and laughing like nothing was wrong. "Dad, let's get some fresh air," I suggested, keeping my tone calm. "Nonsense," he slurred, throwing an arm around me. "I'm celebrating my baby girl's big day." He tried to twirl, but nearly falling over, Dad staggered as Vanessa appeared at his side, tightening her grip on his arm. "Leave him alone," she snapped. "He's just having fun." "This isn't about fun," I replied, struggling to keep my voice steady. "It's about showing respect for Chloe on her special day." Vanessa's eyes narrowed, a sneer forming on her lips. "You think you're so perfect, don't you? Always trying to control everything." Our argument escalated quickly, and though we moved to a quieter corner of the room, our voices kept rising. Finally, I'd had enough. "You don't know anything about our family," I spat, my patience gone. She leaned in, her voice a dangerous whisper. I know one thing, your daddy prefers my company over yours. Something inside me snapped. Is that before or after you drained him of his money, Vanessa? I shot back, my voice trembling with rage. Her face twisted with fury, and before I could react, she lunged at me, pulling off her heeled sandal and swinging it at my head. Everything slowed down. I felt the sharp impact as the heel connected with my temple, pain radiating through my skull. Around us, people screamed and scattered, chairs overturned, and the room became a blur of noise and chaos. Through the mayhem, my only thought was Chloe. How had it come to this? I had promised to protect her happiness, and now her wedding day was unraveling into a nightmare. In the distance, I caught sight of Chloe's horrified face as Matt held her back. Security rushed in, restraining Vanessa as she cursed and thrashed, finally leading her away in handcuffs as the police arrived. For a brief moment, I caught a glimpse of Dad, standing in the chaos, looking lost and broken. And in that instant, I knew things would never be the same again. The days following the wedding were a blur. Police reports, interviews, sleepless nights. It all felt like a never-ending nightmare. Every sound made me jump, and the image of Vanessa lunging at me replayed in my mind, a haunting loop I couldn't escape. Mark held me close whenever I woke up from a nightmare, whispering, "You're safe now, Anna." But feeling safe seemed impossible. How could I, when my own father's girlfriend had attacked me at my sister's wedding? When I finally visited Chloe a week later, she looked drained, a shadow of the joyful bride she'd hoped to be. All those months of planning, she said, her voice heavy with sorrow, and for what? My wedding will always be remembered as the day someone tried to hurt my sister. Chloe, I'm so sorry. I began, guilt weighing on me. She cut me off, shaking her head. I know it's not your fault, Anna, but it feels like our family is cursed. While Chloe struggled to process everything, Dad remained in denial. He called constantly, leaving voicemails that only fueled my anger. "Anna, sweetie, let's not blow this out of proportion," he'd say. Vanessa was just upset. She didn't mean any harm. Hearing him defend her after everything she'd done was infuriating. The final straw came when he showed up at my apartment, reeking of alcohol, his eyes glassy. I opened the door, struggling to hold back my emotions. "Dad, you need to leave," I said, my voice steady but firm. "But Pumpkin, we're family. We need to stick together," he slurred, sounding pitiful. I felt something harden inside me. "No, Dad, we're done. I can't do this anymore." The hurt in his eyes nearly made me waver. But as I closed the door, I knew I'd made the right decision. Meanwhile, Laura, my ever-resourceful best friend, had started digging into Vanessa's past, and what she found left me speechless. "Anna, look at this," she said one night, spreading a stack of papers across my coffee table. "Vanessa has a record, assault, fraud, you name it." I scanned the documents, my stomach churning. How did Dad not know about this? Laura hesitated, biting her lip. "That's the thing, Anna. I think he did." The truth hit me like a ton of bricks. We uncovered joint bank accounts, suspicious money transfers, evidence that Dad wasn't just a victim in all of this. He was an accomplice. Telling Chloe what we discovered was one of the hardest things I'd ever had to do. We sat in her kitchen, the wedding gifts still sitting untouched in the corner. She looked at the documents, tears streaming down her face. "I can't believe it," she whispered. "How could he do this to us?" I shook my head, feeling the same emptiness she did. "I don't even know him anymore. I don't know who Dad is, either," I said softly, "but we need to protect ourselves now." Chloe looked at me, her expression shifting to one of determination. "I'm with you, Anna. Always." Despite her words, the weight of guilt pressed heavily on me. I had exposed our father's crimes, and in doing so, I might have destroyed his life. But then again, hadn't he already done that to himself? The mix of anger, confusion, and guilt was too much for me to handle on my own. That's when I decided to seek help. That's how I found myself sitting in Dr. Evans' office, trying to make sense of it all. "Anna, it's normal to feel conflicted," Dr. Evans reassured me during one of our sessions. "You've been through something traumatic. You're grieving the loss of the father you thought you knew." I stared down at my hands, feeling torn. But shouldn't I hate him after everything he's done? "There's no should when it comes to emotions," she explained kindly. "What's important is that you acknowledge how you feel and work through it." Working through it sounded easy, but it wasn't. Still, as I left Dr. Evans' office that day, I felt a small glimmer of hope. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Maybe, just maybe, I could rebuild something positive from the ruins of my family's past. 4 months after the wedding disaster, I found myself in a place I never thought I'd be, happy. Despite everything that had happened, I had a strong support system. Chloe, Mark, Laura, and we had become an unbreakable team. Our bond was stronger than ever. One night, while we were having dinner at my apartment, Chloe raised her glass. To new beginnings, she toasted. And to family, I added, clinking glasses with my sister. The media was all over Vanessa's trial. It was a circus. Sitting in that courtroom, my stomach was in knots as Vanessa's true nature was revealed for everyone to see. Dad sat beside me, looking completely stunned as her history of crimes came to light. But the real shock was yet to come. Laura and I had been working hard, gathering evidence of Dad's involvement in Vanessa's schemes. During the trial, our lawyer stood up to address the court. Your Honor, we have documentation proving Andrew Baker's involvement in Miss Lang's fraudulent activities. As the legal battle raged on, my personal life took an unexpected turn for the better. My career started to take off. One Sunday afternoon, my boss called me into his office. Anna, we're promoting you to Senior Marketing Director, he said, with a smile. Your resilience and creativity this past year have been outstanding. I left his office in a daze, immediately calling Mark to share the news. Babe, that's incredible. I'm so proud of you, he exclaimed, excitement clear in his voice. Amidst all the chaos, Chloe and Matt made a beautiful decision. They decided to renew their vows. This time, it was a small, intimate ceremony in their backyard with only close friends and family. Second time's the charm, Matt joked, making Chloe giggle as they exchanged rings again. Watching them, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. We were finally healing. All of us. Then the day of Vanessa's sentencing arrived. The courtroom was filled with tension as the judge prepared to deliver the verdict. As I sat there, I reflected on how far we had come since that fateful wedding day. We had been through so much pain and betrayal, but somehow we had made it through. We were stronger, and we were moving forward. It wasn't easy, but we had found our way back to each other. The storm had passed, and we were finally finding peace again. I stood up to deliver my victim impact statement. My hands shook, but my voice was steady. The scars from that night run deep, I began, but they've made me stronger. I looked directly at Vanessa, knowing this was my moment to reclaim my life. I'm here today not as a victim, but as a survivor. As Vanessa was led away in handcuffs, I felt a sense of closure. It was like a long and painful chapter of my life was finally coming to an end. The real celebration, however, came a month later. Chloe, Matt, Mark, Laura, and I were at my favorite restaurant, gathering to celebrate my promotion and everything we had overcome together. To Anna, Laura raised her glass, her smile wide. The strongest person I know. I couldn't let her finish without adding, to all of us. I looked around at the faces of the people who had stood by me through the hardest year of my life, for proving that family isn't just about blood but about loyalty and love. As we laughed and shared stories, I felt something shift inside me. I realized how much had changed. The past year had been like a nightmare, but in a strange way, it had also been a gift. It showed me who really mattered, taught me how strong I could be, and gave me the courage to cut out the negativity and toxic influences in my life. Sitting there surrounded by real love and happiness, I knew that this was my happy ending. It wasn't perfect, and it came with its scars, but it was real, and that made it beautiful. For the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful about the future. I was grateful for the family I had found and the strength I had discovered within myself. So that's where my story ends. But I'm curious about your thoughts. If you were in my shoes, would you have given your father another chance after everything he did? Or would you have kept those boundaries in place, like I did? It's a tough decision, and I know many of you have faced similar struggles with toxic family members. I'd love to hear your experiences. Please share in the comments how you've handled difficult family dynamics in your own lives. If my story resonated with you, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more real-life stories and discussions about navigating complicated family relationships.